Well, good evening. My name is Dick Lehman. This is my wife, Susie, and we are going to do an awareness wheel demonstration tonight. A number of weeks ago, we did the empathic dialogue presentation, which was in tab number 5, and as we described it that evening, the empathic dialogue is a way to go deeper in a conversation when a husband and wife decide that they really need to have a conversation that will go into more depth. They'll decide that one person will be the speaker, the one that needs to talk in a more emotionally intense way, and one who wants to kind of explore some things personally. And then the listener will help facilitate that dialogue. And so we call that an empathic dialogue, where you're showing empathy for what the person is dealing with on a deeper level. And so that's in tab number 5. We also described that evening the use of a tool called the awareness wheel, and we're going to demonstrate that tonight. It's in your notebook, and it consists of basically 4 steps where you seek awareness, which is what you're doing personally before you have the conversation. Then you engage with your spouse by setting the table, where you actually set up the conversation and be prepared to do it. Then you explore the wheel, going through the different parts of the wheel, and then you work towards resolving the issue if it needs any kind of resolution. And then that's what a couple will do as they go through the wheel together. Now, as I have instructed that evening, there's a number of sheets of paper that are in tab number 5 that are very useful for processing this. One of them is one that gives examples of topics that couples can do. And it's actually on page 36 in your notebook. And the topics that you can use for some of this consist of a whole bunch of areas that an individual could explore on his own or her own, and then share it with their spouse. And those are areas where, in talking about it, it doesn't have so much to do with their partner as it does with them personally. Usually those topics are not conflictual topics, because they're very personal and meaningful for the individual, and they're just processing some things that they need their partner to help them process. Then there's quite a few topics below the line on page 36, which is about us as a couple. And those are topics where you can actually work on an issue, you can explore the significance of a particular topic in reference to how it pertains to the marriage. And it may actually be one that does have some conflictual aspects to it, but you're using the awareness wheel dialogue as a way of slowing down the conversation, making it more meaningful and less conflictual. And so those are topics that you can choose from. I also included in the material under tab 5 a feeling word list, because a lot of times as couples go deeper in the conversation, they want to explore what their feelings are. And they also may want to explore some of their core beliefs. And so once you get down to the feeling level and the thought level, you may actually get down to the core belief level, in which there's some real significant things that can come out of the conversation that you're having with your spouse. And so we're going to do that tonight. We're going to do the wheel diagram. There's another sheet of paper that sometimes is very helpful for taking notes, and it describes the different aspects of the wheel: the issue, the facts, the feelings, the thoughts, the core beliefs, family of origin memories, wants and needs, and an action plan. And sometimes it's very good to kind of work through that in preparation for the conversation. It also can be very good for the listener to take notes if he or she wants to do that while they're going through that. So that's a little bit of what we're going to do tonight. So
I'm going to be
tonight,
the speaker?
yes, you'll be the speaker and I'll be the listener, and I'll facilitate the conversation through the wheel.
Okay. So the issue I've been thinking about relates to both our sons and other people, and our marriage, and our differences in personality. So it kind of touches on both above that line and a little bit below that line too in our marriage.
Okay.
And it's has to do with the pressure I feel And the fear I feel when we are interacting together in a situation with either our sons or sometimes other people, could be my extended family, my brothers and my family up in Minnesota. And it's kind of the pressure I feel if I feel like the conversation is not as good as it could be or should be with them. And what brought up some of these thoughts for me recently was when we.
So let me stop you there,
Okay.
just so that I can kind of guide us through this awareness wheel.
Okay.
So let me summarize what I hear as the issue. And the
Okay.
issue has to do with the interactions that we have with our sons, the interaction that you and I have with them or them with others, but the pressure you feel. And so you identify there's a certain amount of pressure that comes up if you feel that a conversation's not going well.
Right.
Is that what you'd say the
Yeah.
issue is? So why don't you kind of lead us into some of the facts? Maybe that'll start with the incident that you're talking about.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, it really came to the forefront when we were supposed to be Zooming with on the day of one of our son's birthdays, and we were going to have a family Zoom, and we hadn't seen each other, because of the distancing and because of distance out to Utah for a while, and so I was anticipating that this was an important time for our family to have that Zoom time. And it was one of the times where we'd all be there and interact. And one of the people in the family didn't show up for the Zoom, even though they were invited, and I know they knew about it. And so immediately I reacted internally, wondering where that person was and how that would make the person whose birthday it was feel. And I wonder if the birthday son is feeling like his family's not here for him or let down, or his disappointment. And I started to take all those feelings on myself of, I feel disappointed, I feel sad, I feel like this isn't what it should have been because some people are missing. So that was one situation.
So this, to talk about facts, one is the particular incident that you're talking about in
Yeah.
reference to the family get together via Zoom for a son's birthday.
Yeah.
And when another son wasn't part of it, then you felt some sense of pressure about that, especially worrying about how our other son would feel about that. Is that right?
There was a part of it too where you were very quiet during that whole Zoom time and really didn't say anything. And so that also bothered me, that you didn't interact. And I know that your hearing loss prohibits you from hearing in that setting, and there were a lot of people in that, but it still made me just feel a feeling of not being happy with our Zoom time. I feel the same way. Sometimes when we call, we FaceTime, and we are interacting with our family. If you are not fully engaged as much as I am engaged with asking questions or pursuing things that might be important to them, or maybe even initiating prayer with them, and then I start thinking, I wonder if they are feeling irritated or disappointed with Dick because he's not saying as much, and I almost feel a pressure of compensating for that, the way I interact with them. So I feel like I have to make up for it somehow.
So what are the feelings to go with that kind of situation?
Just like it's all goes back to feeling like an unmet longing, maybe disappointment of unmet longing, the longing I have for all of our interactions now with our sons to be rich and meaningful interactions, and them with each other. and it really bothers me if it doesn't turn out that way.
So when you say it bothers you, what do you feel?
Um, I feel like unsettled and disturbed.
You know, look at the feeling word list.
Uh, I definitely start feeling melancholy and kind of grieving, almost like a grief that I feel about an unmet opportunity, like a lost opportunity to make every interaction count with them.
So you have high hopes for the time that we're going to have as
Yeah.
a family,
Uh-huh.
and when it doesn't go as well as you'd hope it to, then you
Yeah.
feel disappointed,
A little
you
bit
feel
agitated,
discouraged.
maybe a little bit agitated or anxious about it.
Hmm.
Especially because, and it's not that I feel that way about myself as much as I'm thinking that's how others are feeling in the
Yeah,
family.
you've said that several times, that you're actually thinking about how they would feel. And
Yeah.
so you're anticipating or
It's like I
thinking
impose my own feelings onto them
that
and
they must
say,
be disappointed, that they
yes,
must be unfulfilled or unhappy or
yeah,
not enjoying this,
dissatisfied,
dissatisfied.
and then yeah. So I don't understand all those feelings of why I feel that way, but I take on so much. It's like I'm taking on responsibility for both of us in
Okay.
how we are relating to our adult sons.
Okay.
Um,
So what kind of thoughts do you have? What kind of self-talk do you think is going on there?
um, some of the thoughts are wow, no matter how much I try to make all this really good for our family, these interactions, I can't control the outcome of it, and I'm aware of that, and so even my best efforts are not good enough,
Mm.
or even no matter how much I do, it's not going to be good enough to make my image of how I want our family to be the right. It's not going to work the way I want it to.
Okay.
So I wonder about those feelings, and I wonder if why I have those feelings, those deep feelings, and some of those thoughts. I'm using the word feelings instead of those thoughts, but they are thoughts that go through my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't what I hoped would happen, or this isn't how I wanted this to turn out. This isn't what I envision as the perfect family relationships. And I wonder if I have I know we've talked about like some of my core beliefs that are based on what happened to me growing up in my family, and the kind of the role I think I may have taken in my family of origin to try to make something good come out of the chaos that was around me, because there was so much chaos with my parents, with my brothers and sisters, with all the hurt and pain that I saw in my family of origin, especially with my mom, but also with like my older sister.
Okay, let me pause you for a little bit, and
Okay.
I think it's just real helpful as a listener to summarize what I've heard you say, and
Okay.
to actually help you think a little bit more deeply about it. So, the situation you're talking about is family get-togethers, and they're specific to this current time would be the interactions we have with our sons.
Yeah.
And right now we're doing it by Zoom, and so special days like birthdays,
Yeah.
special occasions where you can get everybody together become really, really important to you.
Yeah.
And in those settings, if you feel like it's not going as well as you'd hoped it would go, you start to feel pressure, and the pressure you feel begins to turn into feelings of disappointment,
Yeah.
feelings of unmet longings that are not being met, your dream for how this will be is not working out. And it specifically surfaces some feelings of sadness,
Yeah.
some melancholy feelings. Gosh, you're feeling those feelings right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, some hurt feelings or disappointed feelings.
I always wanted to make things better. I always wanted to make it better for Mom.
Hmm.
I always wanted to do little things to make her happy or make her laugh or try to make her feel better after she and Dad got into a big, horrible, or Dad got into a horrible fight and she was silent, where he would batter her with words and leave her, and when I knew she was like so down and so depressed and so anxious, and I just wanted so much to just help her.
So you had said you seem to focus quite a bit on how you anticipate others will feel,
Yeah.
how others are feeling, if they're disappointed, if they're hurt, if they're sad, if they're not feeling fulfilled. And that goes all the way back to when you were a little girl, being very aware of how Mom felt, being very well aware of how your brothers would feel or how your sister would feel,
Yeah.
being very aware of the family and the
Uh-huh.
disappointment of things not going well in the family, and the strong feelings of that you couldn't make it
I couldn't
better.
make it better.
You know,
I couldn't,
your best efforts were not good enough, I think is what I heard you
yeah.
say.
I couldn't orchestrate things so that it would be a happy, best case situation for all of us. And, I remember even back when my sister, Chris, my older sister, was a senior in high school and she was going through this really terrible depression. And she was such a gifted musician. She was smarter than me. She was better academically. I was 4 years younger and I was trying to help her with her homework. Like, she needs my help. And I really couldn't help her, but I just felt compelled, like, oh, she's desperate and she needs my help. And I felt that over and over with her.
Hmm.
And then finally, our relationship was pretty much cut off from her side.
Yeah.
When there was some relief in me that I didn't have to feel like I'm in the role where I'm the one that needs to help her anymore. I can't. She's not letting me, so. But anyway, I just,
Is it stronger? The feeling stronger with your mom or with your sister?
it's a lot stronger with Mom because she was always, I felt like she was the victim. But, and
Because of
I
her
just loved
relationship with your
her.
dad.
Yeah, and I just really was close to Mom. I felt really a strong connection to her.
Okay.
I don't know if those feelings, because of all those, I know that it's probably not I know it's not a biblical responsibility I have to control what happens in our
Yeah.
family or to
Yeah.
control you, to control your interactions with other family members.
Hmm.
So I don't know how to deal with the feelings I have about that. If if I just like that's the reality of living in a fallen world, or
Hmm.
am I overstepping all of my responsibilities and wanting how you should be with them or how they should be with you? So
Yeah.
that's
It surfaces most strongly when you feel that someone's not doing well, right? I
yeah.
mean,
Oh
that was the
yeah.
case with your sister. She wasn't performing right with school. You wanted to help her.
Yeah.
Your mom wasn't dealing well with emotionally. And so if any of our sons are not doing well, or you
Yeah.
perceive that there's a struggle of some kind, that's when you feel real intensely
Yeah.
that you want to come alongside and help. And that's a wonderful thing to want to help. It's a wonderful thing to want to meet needs and encourage and strengthen others. But if it feels like pressure and it feels like control, then it can get a little bit out of whack, right?
Yeah.
Um, so,
Yeah. Well, I'm not very good at being self-aware. So the wheel has helped me, just to write down all those feelings to try to make those connections.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what that means in our interactions with our boys, in
Okay.
you, in your part.
Well, you obviously, I mean, what I'm hearing you say is that you would like for me to be more engaged and
Uh-huh.
more involved in a way that kind of helps with the situation. Is that right?
Yeah, but I don't want to put things on you, expectations on you that are not, that are out of my own perceived, like things, you've got to come through on this or something bad is going to happen
Yeah.
for you too.
What would you like me to do?
I think I'd like you just to, I'd like you to participate more without feeling you're doing it to please me or because I need you to. Because I know in the past that's been an issue. You feel like you're doing it because I expect you to do it rather than you wanting to do it or it being natural.
Yeah, well, if I feel pressure, it's hard not to feel that.
Yeah. So that's what the action plan, I feel like, might be more just internal for me. Like, what do I need to do? And I just needed your help and support um, as I work through some of these things in my own heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But it really helps just to talk about it and,
yeah.
okay.
Okay. Sounds like we're wrapping things up a little bit here.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe we can talk about it more ongoing and come up, like,
mm-hmm.
I don't know if it would be good to talk about before we have a time with our in Zoom or when we arrange the next meeting or like Friday night we're going to celebrate another birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Just for, it might help me if you just reassured me verbally, acknowledge that I have that need for you to
Mm-hmm.
be engaged, fully engaged
Okay. Okay.
in this situation. That might help, I think. It's kind of like, when you want to have some intimacy and you give me some hints ahead of time
Okay.
to
Okay.
kind of look at that and say, okay, I want to engage in this and I want to be fully present and I want to be in on this.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, if I were to summarize what we've talked about, just kind of going through the wheel, the issue is um, how you invest an awful lot in terms of the well-being of our family, the well-being of our kids, the enjoyment of our family get-togethers. And if you feel like things are not going well, then you begin to feel pressure if it's not as meaningful as you'd like it to be, if it's not as meaningful for them that you think it should be, if it feels like there's something missing, like there's
Yeah.
someone missing,
Right.
or if there's not some conversation going on that
Mm-hmm.
needs to take place, then you feel like you start to begin to feel this pressure
Mm-hmm.
inside, pressure of disappointment, pressure of sadness, pressure of feeling like you're wanting more,
Yeah.
more from me specifically to help with the situation to make it more meaningful.
Yeah.
And am I right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And so it'd be probably helpful for us to have a conversation prior to those experiences, those events, about how can we make them more engaging and more meaningful? How can I have a more active part in this in a way that feels like this is going to make the experience go that much better?
Yeah.
Is that
Thank you.
is that what you're
That's
asking
a
for?
good plan. I like that plan.
Yeah. But it would be
Yeah.
good, I think, actually, for you to continue to become self-aware
Yeah.
of the pressure you feel, and maybe even to distinguish between what is a current experience versus what is an unfortunate experience from your
Yeah.
past, right? That you know,
So
our
I'm not
family,
overlaying those.
yeah, our family
Issues.
dynamics are very different from the family
Yeah,
dynamics you
I
grew
know
up
it.
with. Hmm.
Our boys would probably think I was really crazy if they heard this. Mom is crazy.
No, they love their mom, and they so appreciate how much you care for them, and I do too. We do, we do appreciate how much you invest in all of us so much to make the quality of our lives so much better. So,
Okay.
so Friday night, that's coming up in 2 days. So I
Yeah.
will anticipate a need to have a conversation with you about that beforehand.
Okay.
That sound good?
All right.
Okay. All right. My wife and I have actually had lots of great conversations using the wheel. I can remember when we drove back from Chicago and we did a wheel illustration that took several hours in the car. So it's something that you have to work on and practice, and then over time you can develop. And if you would like me to help you with that, I'd be happy to work with any of you couples to practice the wheel. Now, in this current situation, we could do it by Zoom, and I could have you guys be in front of a computer camera, and I could actually walk you through the wheel in your exercise with each other. So, if any of you are interested in that, I'd be very available to do that over the course of the next several weeks before this semester is over. So, thank you.